Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly, they're in the news. People are talking about them. They were on NXT 2.0 last night. There was a farewell of sorts for both of them. We can see the kind of, I guess, the new curtain call is what some people are labeling it, the black and gold curtain call here with Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano. Finn, what do you think about this? Do you think that do you think they're both leaving? Do you think either of them staying? Is one a red herring? And if either of them are leaving, where do you think they should look to go?
Well, Kyle O'Reilly faced Von Wagner in a cage match on last night's NXT. Von Wagner won, of course. He also turned heel either in the match or certainly after the match in his promo afterwards. We know he's now a villain, which is the right role for him. We talked about that on What's Going Down. So, I mean, after the match, after he defeated Kyle O'Reilly, slammed the cage door on him. Von Wagner had the promo afterwards. No appearance by Kyle O'Reilly, which I think confirms that he's definitely leaving. Later on in the program, in fact, in the main event slot, Johnny Gargano came out. He'd set it up at War Games that was going to be his last match for the company. He had the farewell speech, just saying that he loved NXT. He'd first gone there in 2015, was told that he would never be signed. Thanks to William Regal, he brought him back, and he received such a huge ovation from the crowd that they kept bringing him back week after week. When he wasn't under contract, he was eventually signed and became a huge star there, as we all know. And he acknowledged as to why he'd never left NXT. He said he didn't want to because he loved it so much. Then he transitioned into his future. He's about to become a father in February. Made it clear that he was leaving, but didn't say that didn't say where he was going or if he wouldn't return. He was quite sort of ambiguous the way it was phrased. And then they went to the tight shot. We all know what the tight shot means, don't we, Kenny, in WWE? Somebody's about to strike somebody with something. Either it's going to be a chair or a cream pie or something like that. Grayson Waller turned up, smashes Johnny with the chair, puts the chair around his head, hurls him into the ring post, then smashes him with a power bomb through the announce table. I mean, Grayson Waller got proper anger heat there. People were mad. They were furious, which was exactly the response they were seeking. This wasn't like ha 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 pantomime heat. This was rage from that NXT audience. So, judging by the way in which that angle at the end of the show played out, I think Johnny Gargano will return in February, March time. Kyle O'Reilly, I think he's leaving, and I reckon he's going to join his former Undisputed Era pals, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, in AEW. What do you think, Kenny?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think Gargano is going to leave, or I think he's at least going to leave for a little while and see what the options are for him and see what deals he could get elsewhere. I actually think Johnny Gargano would have the better chance in AEW long term in terms of making it, because he does have a really good personality. We saw the stuff he did with the Way. I think he could break through in a way that a lot of guys couldn't. You look at a guy like Jay Lethal, who's in AEW now, or Bobby Fish, and they're good, but they're not. They've not got that personality that just shines through that Johnny Gargano has. So I think that he could break through that kind of mid card AEW thing where there's so many people. But I think Kyle O'Reilly's going to struggle. I think initially he will be fine with Adam Cole and Bobby Fish, but how long are they going to want to do an Undisputed Era version 2? How long are they going to do that for? So I think as long as he's with Adam Cole and Bobby Fish, I think Kyle O'Reilly's career in AEW could be pretty good. But I worry for him outside of that, whereas I think Gargano could do a lot of different stuff. Because there's a lot, we'll talk about this a little bit later. I think there's a lot of AEW contracts that are coming up in the next kind of while, for people who signed at the beginning of the company. I know Joey Janela said that Joey Janela's contract is up next May, I think it is. So he's up. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who signed initially who are kind of going, do you know what? As fun as it is to go to Universal Studios to do Dark once a month, I'm going to go somewhere else. But
I mean Joey Janela, Kenny, future WrestleMania headliner.
Future WrestleMania headliner in the video game on a custom wrestler, as about as close as he's gonna get
Yeah.
to the WrestleMania event. But let us know in the chat where you think Gargano or O'Reilly should go. I mean, do you think is there anywhere else that Kyle O'Reilly should look to go? Is AEW the best place for him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that seems like the natural destination for him. But I agree with you. I mean, he doesn't really have much of a character. He's very limited in what he can do. He can do the matches, do very serious matches, very accomplished in ring performer. That goes without saying. But as far as character work, um, there isn't really a whole lot he can do there. I mean, if you look at Johnny Gargano, as you said, he's a multifaceted performer. He can do pretty much anything. He can do comedy. He can do serious stuff. He can do stuff that pulls at the heartstrings, like that speech he did on NXT last night. I mean, he can do pretty much everything. I mean, he was the guy who was the takeover king for so long, had those amazing matches in the main event until he kind of, he got a little bit out of control, didn't he? I mean, the matches, him and Ciampa just ended up going too long. Some of those matches they had, it was like, they're thinking, well, more is more. Well, no, as we know, Kenny, less is more. So, I mean, they needed to just dial it down a bit, just rein themselves in there and not go for 30 minutes plus. But, I mean, there isn't really anything he can't do. And I agree with you. If he were to go to AEW, I think he would go much further in that company than Kyle O'Reilly could or will. But we will see. I mean, he's in a really good spot right now. I mean, whether he decides to re-sign with NXT or leaves, I mean, he did a really good thing on the way out. It was a very memorable speech. And Grayson Waller, who's a guy at NXT 2.0 obviously likes, he got a ton of heat on him on the way out. So, I mean, he really put the guy over in his exit. So whether he leaves, whether he stays, he's going to be all right either way. Kyle O'Reilly, I think AEW is the destination he should seek, and I'm sure that's where he would like to go. But I mean, what does he do after that initial pop? Wanes, the initial, another WWE star has joined AEW. People will be really excited to see him on week 1. How will he be doing on week 3 or 4? Yeah, I think he could struggle. I think he could struggle to really maintain that level of interest.
Well, it's interesting because we've got Rocky Kingston in the chat who's saying that if given a chance, he reckons Gargano could do great in the main roster, maybe part of a stable, a mid-card stable with people like Cesaro or AJ Styles. I think the main roster is an interesting one for Johnny Gargano because the way that the main roster has been with NXT guys would signal that he's not going to do very well. But I think the WWE at this point, they almost need to have an indie-like guy do really well in the main roster to sort of show what used to be the way is not the way anymore. If you're with us now, and you go, because Johnny Gargano, he's went through NXT 2.0, he's played the game, he's been very, giving as a performer. So, like, if he does that, reward him with a sustained push on Raw or SmackDown, not one of these ones where he ends up on main event within 3 months.